Let's look at how to launch your jewelry business or any handmade business if you're dead broke. You're born to make beautiful things and sell them. And maybe you're a server, you work in a restaurant or a coffee shop, and you only make enough money to pay the bill and have enough left over to buy materials to make your business. Where should you sell your handmade goods? There's several places you can start selling handmade goods. You can sell at retail shows where the public pays a fee to come in. They go to your booth, they buy your stuff. You can sell wholesale to stores. You can do wholesale trade shows. You can sell on social media. You can sell online. There's farmers markets. You could open your own retail store. I've done almost all of those things. I have been running my own jewelry business since 1995. Good Lord. So let's look at some of these from the point of view of cost. So I'm going to assume you have a few products that you want to sell, and maybe you sold them to friends and family. And where do you go from there? One place a lot of people start is attending local craft fairs, farmers markets, and so on. And then ultimately end up doing the more expensive retail Christmas shows. So it's a good place to start. I definitely would not go full on into the retail trade show until you have done a few markets and built up a bit of product. So the pros of doing those retail shows, whether they're small or large, is that you really get to learn what the customer will buy. You get to talk one-on-one with customers, and that is a fantastic way to build your line. If you have good products, you sell them. And so you do make money, but that's a pretty expensive way to go because you have to create inventory. So you have to put out a whole bunch of money to create a bunch of products that you can then take to those markets to sell. And if you don't have a lot of experience selling those things, you might end up having to take a bunch of those home and never selling them. So that's the downside. Also, those markets are pretty competitive. If you make something that's in a very popular category like jewelry, you may not be accepted into those shows to begin with because a lot of people want those coveted jewelry spots. And most of those shows only have so many spots for jewelers. They're more likely to go with somebody who has a more unique product, which is less competitive. But if you're going to attend a really high-end handmade show, you probably have to show your products and have a jury select you to be part of those shows. Then you have to pay for booths. All of that stuff really adds up. It gets pretty expensive quickly. You might want to say, I'm going to start wholesale. A wholesale trade show is similar. You would have to create a line of products, send in an application, and be juried to get into that show. It might be competitive. And the pros of a wholesale trade show are that, of course, you're going to meet a lot of stores and you can start making sales and create long-term relationships with those customers. The goal is to meet store owners and buyers and have them place orders and then continue to place orders. And the only way that's going to happen is if your line sells out or sells very well in their stores, then they're going to want to place more orders. Again, expensive to rent the space and pretty expensive to create the lines. So you're going to have both sets of samples to show. And then you're going to have to produce the jewelry or the pottery or the glass. Now, if you have a huge budget, then you open your own bricks and mortar retail store on a busy street. Now, obviously, we're not talking about that. I'm going to tell you what I would do now today if I had no money and I was starting all over. Let's say you want to sell in stores. So there's two ways to do that are less expensive than doing a wholesale trade show to meet buyers. You can just go door to door yourself. I've done it. A little nerve-wracking, but get yourself a line of products make an appointment with the stores by calling them up, sending them an email, sending them some pictures, and go see them and start selling your brand to them. Hopefully they place an order. And if you continue to service them, connect with them personally, you can usually get reorders. Another way to go is to do consignment. I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan. When a store puts your product in their store consignment, they're not motivated to sell it. I know they want to sell it. They want to make money and they didn't have to invest in your product, but they did have to invest in the other product lines in their stores. They have to sell to make their money back. So, of course, they're going to be more motivated to sell those brands. I think consignment is kind of a waste of time. It really doesn't benefit you. And you have to put in a lot of money to create the stock. Maybe the stock never sells, and maybe nobody even cares if it sells because the only person that it's going to harm is you. So all of those things I've mentioned before are more expensive options for starting your business. If you guys have any questions about any of those, if you want to learn more about any of those options, please comment and I'd be happy to give you any answers that I have from my experience. You can also download the free checklist to see if you're ready to launch your business. So let's look at less expensive ways to sell. My favorite way to sell is to sell online. I have been selling online since there was online, since online was born. It was like the wild, wild west, felt like. But now we have much more sophisticated ways to do that. You can sell online in a bunch of different ways. There's social media, there's Etsy, there's Amazon, there's other online craft markets, there's Fair online, which is wholesale, and there's Shopify having your own store. Let's break some of that down as well. Selling on social media can be really good if you are good at communicating and posting. It requires a lot of one-on-one connection, and you can have a whole business just selling on Instagram or TikTok. The downside to social media is that you don't own social media and you don't own any of those customers and you don't own any of those connections. So at any point, if Instagram doesn't like you or if somebody complains about you, your Instagram can be shut down. Any of your social media platforms can be shut down without cause and without any warning. It's happened to my students before, and it's really tough because you have worked really, really hard to gain those followers and fans. But unless you're capturing their email addresses, they could be wiped out in a second. Social media can work, but you need a backup insurance policy. As far as cost goes, it's cheap. What do you need to do? You need to have a few items that you can photograph and show on your social media and then sell directly. Oftentimes it starts with your friends who are following you on social media, so you can meet up with them. But if you have to ship farther out, then you might want to learn more about shipping. If I had absolutely no money, I would start selling on Etsy. However, that would not be my end point because just like with social media, you can have your Etsy account taken away. It can be shut down for no reason. People can make allegations about your products that are untrue, and Etsy will stop you from selling them. They'll take them right off their marketplace. So, what I like about Etsy is there's a very inexpensive barrier of entry. You only pay 20 cents US to make a listing. That's it. When you sell it, you're going to pay a commission to Etsy around 6%. So if you have only one thing and you sell one thing and you've priced your products properly, you're gold. If you have questions about shipping or pricing, look into my online course. It takes you through absolutely everything you need to know about shipping, pricing, photography, and so on. When you're ready, check out the online course. The ultimate goal would be to sell online and sell a Shopify store. Now, it's more expensive to sell on Shopify because you have to pay a monthly fee and then you do pay fees on top of it. The difference between owning your own Shopify store and selling on any other platform is that you own all of the customer's information and you can email them and connect with them any way you want, whenever you want. And that's where the real value is. As cold as it sounds, having the email list still the most powerful way to connect with customers. Because ultimately, any of those other platforms can kick you up and then you've lost access to all your customers. So consider selling on Etsy. You make a sale, you spend 20 cents plus the commission, and maybe you spend a little bit of money on advertising on Etsy, but you've made the sale and you have found a new customer. Unless you have some kind of packaging that goes with your shipment that somehow connects them to you, that may just be a one-time sale and you'll never see that customer again unless they particularly follow you on Etsy. Again, selling on Etsy, it's competitive and you're going to show your product and Etsy is going to show 10 products just like your product side by side. Now consider selling on Shopify. It's just your product. So if they manage to find you through a search or through trade shows and you're handing out business cards and they go to your website, once they have made a purchase, you can encourage them to join your email list and then you have that customer connection for life. So you can nurture that customer connection for the next 20 years. I've done the retail shows, I've done the wholesale shows, and all of those customers ultimately find me on my Shopify website. After more than 20 years of doing these kind of shows and making these connections, the one portal I have is my Shopify website. So they can find me no matter what, no matter how many years have gone by. If you're dead broke, start with Etsy. The pros are that you're going to learn really quickly the expectations that Etsy sets for vendors, are going to train you on how to be a good business owner selling handmade goods on Shopify. They are very aggressive about getting reviews. Your product shows up higher in their search rankings if you provide excellent customer service, which means answering messages really quickly and shipping your products on time. You will actually be rated by Etsy, and then Etsy will ask your customers to rate you. If you maintain good high ratings, you are pushed up in the algorithm and more people will see your products, hopefully getting you more sales. Etsy is a great training ground. Once you have gotten your feet wet on Etsy and you're making a little bit more money, I encourage you to take full control of your business. I would start with Shopify if I had any budget at all. But if we're talking about no budget at all and very little experience and it's handmade goods, things you've made yourself, it's your art, it's your voice, it's your passion, it's your calling. If you've got no money, I would start small and build a line of products that can sell. And there's almost no investment to do that on Etsy. You don't have to stock a lot of product. You don't have to have a huge line. Although I will say, I've read that you want to have 200 listings to get noticed on Etsy. I don't think that's totally true, but I did notice the more listings I had, the better my sales were, which is kind of logical because there's more options for people to choose from. The more options you have in your store, the more traffic you're going to get. Now, I haven't talked much about Amazon. Amazon, I don't think is the greatest place to start if you're a passionate handmade artist. That is not the clientele Amazon attracts. If you're selling handmade, you want to find customers and a place to sell your goods where people appreciate handcrafted goods. They appreciate the time it takes to make them. They appreciate that it's made locally or made in the US or made in Canada by artists there. They like to see the faces of the people who are creating it. Amazon does not have those customers, or if they do, those customers are on Amazon for something else. They're not looking for beautiful handmade quality items. For that, they go to other websites, they go to Etsy, they go to these craft shows, and they go to your Shopify store. If you have any more questions about that, or if you're ready to launch your online business where you have total control of your product, audience, and message, please check out my course. If you want to know more about any of these things, just ask in the comments. I want you to know that there's a place for your product and your voice. Don't worry that other people have done that. Don't worry that there's categories full of your product. You have your own unique voice. You are needed. Your products are needed. In this world, you have a perception, you have a unique perspective, and we want to see it. It's important that you get your art into the world. Do it the right way from the start. Save yourself a lot of time, money, pain, and you will find your path to success.